Welcome to Thoughts Off the Stem. I don't know why these buttons don't work that well, but they should work better than they do. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for joining me, Justin Barone, on your Friday at 4:20 p.m. And today we got a lot of stuff going on. I'm smoking some, what's it called? What am I smoking? I'm smoking some citrus skunk in the bong, because citrus skunk is a sativa and it's like the perfect sativa for me. I love it. It's perfect. Hits me right in the eyes, makes you feel like you have dry eyes without having dry eyes. You get the dude, I'm so stoned face. So we're smoking that in the bong, and then today we're gonna smoke a pre-rolled Animal Sorbet Kush Mints. It's a blunt. Booyah, 1 full gram. It's one of the best blunts I've ever smoked. I love it. It's amazing. I have an ashtray this time. Remembered that. Haha. Very lucky for me. Today we actually do have some weed facts and some dude for real facts. And I got a bit of a fucking beef this week, I guess you could say. I have a beef because I was shown something on TikTok that really pissed me off. Because it's the same landscape that I'm in, kind of. Talking my opinion, telling you what's going on. Mostly my stuff's about weed and having a good time, obviously. That's what I like to do. That's what I would prefer to do. And I also feel like there's a there's a certain responsibility that comes with having an online presence. And like I touched on it without going into the Andrew Tate stuff. The Andrew Tate situation is like the best example of that. Even though I can understand and see some of the logic that is, underlying what he's saying, it's the presentation that fucks you up, man. Okay? You talk the way you talk, and the next thing you know, people hate you because you're putting on a persona. I mean, I know he knows what he's doing. I know that he's doing it on purpose. But there are a lot of people out there that mimic that kind of shit and think that doing that is like a badge of honor or something. But here's the problem with that, okay? You end up giving out a lot of hurtful, harmful, bad information. And I don't mean like, little things. I mean like big things. Like when you're telling somebody, drugs aren't bad, or all drugs aren't bad, that's kind of fucked up, because some drugs are bad. Okay? Some drugs you shouldn't fuck with. Some drugs you should stay away from. I talk about weed because I enjoy weed, and I see, obviously, the healing and helping properties from that plant. I would never tell you something like, I don't know, cocaine is even to caffeine. That is fucking bananas to me. Alright? There are just certain things that you should think about before you spew them out and put them out there to the world. Because more often than not, let's be honest, our audience on these platforms is younger, okay? And we should be able to sit back and, outline that if we're telling a joke, we're telling a joke, okay? Or have it known. Whereas in some cases, I think people blur the lines too much. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that, like, basically some of these younger people that hop on TikTok and try to get their, TikTok famous on and all that shit, they lose sight of the fact that you can't put all of the responsibility on the viewer to figure out whether or not you're joking. It is the responsibility of the viewer to a certain extent to, fact check and make sure that what you're doing is like satire. And they do have a certain amount of obligation to that, right? But we also have a certain amount of obligation to divide ourselves from the idea, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, a lot of what I talk about, I know I'm talking bullshit, okay? Sometimes I talk out of my ass, but I'm also in the weed industry, the cannabis industry, so I also do know what I'm talking about. And I make a real concerted effort to learn and understand what it is that I'm involved with and what I'm doing here. I'm not always careful with what I say, but I always correct myself if I'm wrong. And I feel like a lot of these younger people don't do that correction part. They just go, fuck it. People want to think of me as a troll. Cool, I'm a troll. Fuck those guys, okay? That is not the right way to think of shit, man. And the reason it's not the right way is because some young kid who's 12 or 14 years old is going to be turning on your shit, turning around and taking that crap as fact. It's the same thing as doing it with, like Andrew Tate was doing it. A lot of these guys that got roped into his bullshit took it as fact. Not all that shit was fact, man. He knew what he was doing. It was a marketing ploy. It was a way to get him known, to get him money fast. And it worked, all right? Because he preyed on the psychology of society. And that's essentially what some of these other, like, TikTok stars, and not TikTok stars, but, like, people that are trying to gain a voice on TikTok, what they seem to lack is education in the topics that they're talking about. They take the fucking hotline principle or hotline thing that's coming up, headline that's coming up on the news, and they start spewing out the 4 main points of that as if they're 100% fact. You have to fact check that shit, man. When I do weed facts, for example, not everything I put in is a valid fact. But I try to point out the fact, ironically, that those are not valid facts. That you should double check it. That's why I put it on the website, so that you could go to tots420.com and you could turn around and you could check, read out the whole article before making a decision as to what that is. Okay? So don't believe everything you hear. I mean, as a podcaster, as a internet, I guess, I don't even know if you could call me this, but like an internet personality, I feel like I have an obligation to make sure that the message that I'm putting out there is at least not harmful. Okay? We can talk about anything. We can discuss whatever the fuck we want. But the bottom line is that we have to have some truth in what it is that we're talking about. Now, it may not have to be a truth that is mainstream accepted, but it can be a truth, right? It doesn't have to be like that. But a lot of people want to push a non-mainstream truth just to get their point across, or get people hooked on their point, or agreeing with them, or backing them up. Okay, so in this example, I had gotten this fucking... I had been shown these TikToks, and they infuriated me, man. It was fucking horrible. I could not believe the shit that was coming out of this person's mouth. I couldn't believe how they went down this illogical, uneducated, ignorant, self-indulging list of shit that was just incorrect, trying to spew it out as like a, hey, listen to what I'm telling you, because what I'm telling you is the right thing. I hate to tell you, that person that was saying that, I'm not giving them any credit, because I don't want anybody going to watch this shit. It's fucked up, dude. Okay? And you have to, again, it's one of those scenarios where you really should want to be able to back up what you're saying. Know what you're talking about. Not just talk about some dumb surface area bullshit that may or may not give you views. Fuck views, okay? Don't get me wrong, I love having you guys come back every week. But I'm saying, it's not always about just the views. Just like life isn't always about money, man. You have to have some kind of backbone. You gotta have a limit. You can't just say shit to say shit. You should feel like we talk about global unity and everybody, coming on board and getting along with each other and, taking care of each other. Well, part of that is the information that we fucking spread, man. And the information that we spread is not always in everybody's best interests. Woo! My stool just about fell over. Good thing I put the water way over there. I'd have lost my fucking computer, huh? But yeah, it's not always in our best interest to spew what you're spewing. So next time you're thinking about doing a TikTok about this like radical view that you heard or some idea that you half understand, maybe think twice and maybe understand the whole idea and then point it out in a satirical way or some shit. Do something other than just trying to hop on the bandwagon of bullshit that we are putting forth in our fucking communities. Yeah, I'm riled up. What can I tell you? I hope you're enjoying your Friday. I had to have some vape. This was just nicotine. I don't recommend doing that either. I'm trying to get rid of this, man. I'm smoking too many cigarettes lately. You know what? I need another bong hit. Yeah, so I hope you're enjoying your Friday. Thank you for joining me again, Justin Barone, to start your weekend off right, baby. But yeah, okay, here, I'll just think on this for a second. So I saw these TikToks, and I showed them to my daughters. My one daughter's 9 years old, my youngest, and then my oldest, my 14-year-old. And I didn't give them any context to it. I just showed them because I groaned when I opened the message. So they were like, "What's up, Dad?" And I was like, "Well, let me show you something." So I didn't give them any background. I didn't tell them anything about it. I said, "Just watch this and tell me what you think. Now let me hit this bowl and then tell you what they said." All right. So, I played this video for them. Immediately after the video ends, in unison, okay, these kids go, "What do you think they said?" Yeah, that's right. They both go, "Is this person an idiot? Are they stupid?" And I go, "Yes. Yes, they are." I could not, because I wanted to know if they had seen anything like that on TikTok, right? Because I need to know if they're following shit like that. I don't want them brainwashed by fucking morons. I want them to be able to think and explain, converse, what else? Take apart an idea and put it back together. I want them to be able to reverse engineer a whole bunch of shit, right? Right. So I just wanted to make sure that they wouldn't get sucked in by something like this. And the fact that a 9 and a 14-year-old both looked at me straight in the face and went, "What the fuck?" basically, I was like, okay, good. We're good here. I don't need to put any more into this. But I wish that obviously some of these younger kids started thinking about some of the shit that they put out. Because just to say the popular thing or the cool fucking thing or the thing you think people will jump onto and latch onto to get you famous, that's not a fucking way to go about life, man. Don't do that shit. You should be thinking about a legacy, thinking about something that you can leave, some kind of like staple, some imprint on the people around you. Like, I'm not saying that this does that. I mean, I would like to think that it does, but I'm not saying that it does do that for sure. I mean, hopefully it educates you sometimes. Hopefully most of the time it just gives you a laugh and a dude to smoke some weed with when you don't have anybody else to smoke some weed with. You know what I'm saying? That's really what I'm going for here. So in that case, after 2 bong hits, a stale-ass hanging smoke environment, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a thin wave of smoke right across the screen. Let's light our joints. So again, I'm smoking this Black Market Animal Sorbet Kush Mint blunt. I'm telling you, it is one of the best blunts that I've ever had. Oh, and here's a side note, okay? So this is what I realized. I kind of did this anyway, but sometimes I wouldn't. So when you go to light a pre-roll, most of the time, a lot of people will, light it and then haul real fast, okay? What you're supposed to do is light the tip of the pre-roll, like so, like a candle, so that the paper burns itself off, that's like folded over or twisted up, so that hopefully that paper burns itself off, and then you just hit the weed when you start taking your puff. Because as soon as you start to inhale before you've hit the weed, that's how you get the canoe, dude. That's what I'm saying. It's fucking incredible. Incredible. Bing. I don't know what that was. I'm working with a new soundboard. Obviously new setup with the computer too. So what do you think would have been a good sound for that? Maybe, it won't canoe, dude. Nope, that's not it. It won't canoe, dude. Ah. Right? I like that one. There you go. I'm high. I hope you're high. But yeah, I totally didn't realize that I felt this way up until this week about all this fucking piss poor regulation of talking about shit online. And like I said, I mean, if you're trying to entertain, great. But make it known that you're trying to entertain and that the shit that you're saying is like supposed to be that. It's supposed to be entertainment. It shouldn't be taken as like a real opinion. Because sometimes the way people say it, it doesn't come across the way that you think it comes across. It comes across more, I'm trying to educate you as opposed to I'm trying to make fun of myself. Because if you're trying to make fun of yourself and you're saying, I can get that. But That I don't feel like was the case of this. I think this is the case where somebody was trying to say some shit that would get them some views and some attention without thinking about the ramifications or the fucking subject of their shit. Black market, animal sorbet, Kush mints blunt. Dude, delicious. If you want a nice long burning blunt, this is the one to take. I'm telling you. And yeah, my daughters totally sussed out that shit right away. They were like, what the fuck is this person talking about? This is crazy. I couldn't believe it. I can't believe, you know what it is? It surprises me that people think like that. I can't believe that you can have, I can understand weighing all sides of the, like all arguments on all sides of a subject, but that's the thing. It wasn't just one fucking video, okay? On like one person's thing where like they made this thing and it just didn't work. It was like there was a pattern of this kind of talk and bullshit throughout the entire profile. And I just thought to myself, like, how do you not notice that this is like, how do you look at that and go, oh yeah, great job, you know, without assessing or like reassessing how you're talking, the words you're saying, your thought process, because some, like, maybe it's because of the cuts that it didn't work out the way that it maybe was meant to, but dude, it was, you have to, let me take a hit of this blunt. You have to take pride in what you're putting out. I think. And again, I'm on my high horse or soapbox or whatever you want to call it. But I really think that, like, fuck, we need to make more of an effort. You don't have to be, you know, overly conscious and become like a crazy social justice warrior. But I think that if everybody was just like, look, how can this benefit me and you? We would have a much better scenario. You know what I mean? It would play out, life would play out so much better. I think. That's just, you know. A few people watching this will know who I'm talking about. I would love to give the name, but I don't want to, because like I said, I think it gives out the wrong idea. And if I give out the name, I just want to talk about the idea that, you know, if I give out the name, it's not going to be good. So, like, why bother? You know what I'm saying? Plus, it gives them the idea that there's, like, something to argue. There's nothing to argue. I don't think. You know? I just wish that, you know, here's another, okay, so, all right, maybe it's our generation's fault. This is the other thing, I think, is that maybe it's not them. We spend a lot of time blaming them and saying, like, oh, you don't think through your shit, you don't work like we work, and blah, blah. And every generation before us has done that, right? Always look down on the one after them, being like, oh, you can't do what we do. Maybe that is part of the problem, because we're always going, oh, you can't do what we do. And we're not also willing to help. Like, we just look at them like, oh, you can't do it, so we discard them. Because I know that's my generation. My generation for life. If you can't keep up, we just see ya. That's it. Fall off, you know? So maybe, like, that's our fault. Maybe that's our problem, is that we do too much of that instead of trying to teach and trying to pass on that, you know, that work ethic, that thought, that way to think. And although I have met guys my age that think the same way, and I'm fucking baffled by it. Like, why are you saying things that are clearly not true, you know? But I guess it goes around, it happens. What could I say? But in light of this, in light of feeling like I have an obligation to at least, you know, do my best to educate on a minimal level while entertaining, we've got some weed facts this week. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we got weed facts this week, baby. And this week's weed facts, all right, I decided, well, what I would do, because this seems to be a very popular question at the shop as well, is give you some of the laws and what you can do in terms of how much cannabis, how much weed you can actually have on you. without getting in trouble, because there is still limits to what we can do with weed, even though it is legal in Canada. So, weed fact number one, all right, is how much weed can you actually have in Ontario, Canada? And here's the thing. So, you can purchase up to 30 grams at one time. In public, you can have that 30 grams on you. Okay? You can't have any more than that, or else you can get in trouble. All right? But once you take that 30 grams back to your house, you can go back to the dispensary right away and buy another 30 grams. Okay? You can do that all day until you have like a pound at your house. Because you're unlimited to how much weed you can have, dried cannabis you can have at your house. Okay? Which is weird because you can only grow 4 plants at a time at your house. And that's not per person. Okay? Anyway, that's the next weed fact. So, yeah, you can have, on you in public, you can have 30 grams at a time. And basically that 30 gram limit, that 30 gram limit, okay, is basically a transportation in public restriction. So the government, I think, thinks that if you buy that much cannabis in like large quantities, that you're gonna start like trafficking it or something. So, but yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. You could come back as many times as you want to get 30 grams, and you can get as much of it, like you could come from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. and you can get weed, all right? And you can do that all day, 30 grams. Come every like 15 minutes and buy out the store if you want. But you have to do it like that. Whereas at the LCBO, the liquor, like where you buy booze in Ontario, Canada, excuse me, you could pull up with like a 53-foot trailer and a truck and be like, okay, I want the whole thing, load me up. And they're like, cool, man, in one trip. So, I don't get that. We have a few weird contradictory laws to our what do you call it, legal cannabis situation in Canada. It's kind of funny. But I mean, it still works out. We get to smoke weed and we get to get a good variety of weed. So like, I'm not complaining. Not even kind of. All right, weed fact number 2. So how much can you grow at home? And this is what I was saying before. You can grow 4 plants per household at one time. Not per person, per household. Which, like I said, is kind of silly because you can actually have as much, like an unlimited amount of dry weed at your house as you want. I mean, as like there's no limit, basically. The only limit is on transportation. So, yeah, you can have 4 plants though. That's it. 4 plants for a family of 6. Come on. Help a brother out. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why that's in place, but that's the way it is. All right, weed fact number 3. Weed fact number 3. How much THC is in legal edibles? Dude, this blunt is hitting. In a legal cannabis store in Ontario, Canada, okay, the maximum percentage of THC in that pack, yeah, the full package percentage, the total package percentage of THC can only be like 10 milligrams, 10%. So that means you get 5 gummies, and they're 2 milligrams a piece. You're gonna end up, if you're somebody that smokes on a regular basis, you're gonna end up eating a lot of packages to try and get high. If you're new, I don't know, you might be okay. Give you a little buzz, but it doesn't. Someone like me, one package doesn't really do like doesn't give you the same high as a joint would, or the same end effect as a joint would. So yeah, they're pretty limited. The exception to that rule though is lozenges, because they're categorized differently, more as a pill. They can have considerably higher amounts, like 100 plus milligrams per package. I think one of the highest ones I've seen up here so far is 250 milligrams, which is a lot. But again, it's a lozenge, so there's like 25 lozenges. Each lozenge would be 10 milligrams. You can't get anything that has one thing, like, you know, one big gummy that's like 500 milligrams. You can't get that. And then drinks, same thing. Drinks max out at 10 milligrams. Hopefully they change that. But I don't know, man. I don't know if they will change that or not. I think it's coming, but it's Canada. They're slow at doing shit like that. So we'll see. And then what else here? Okay, so the last thing with edibles is, I think the reason that the government, and you could double check this, like Google it, I'm not sure, but I've heard that the government capped the edibles at 10 milligrams. That way they could minimize any adverse effect on kids if a kid got a hold of the gummies or something like that. It's like a manageable amount, plus it doesn't really do anything or hurt them. So I think that was a big reason for them staying at that. But the argument is that you can't let kids in the shop anyway, and responsible users should be able to, you know, keep them away, or make their kids understand that they shouldn't be taking that stuff, right? So yeah, so those are the weed facts. Those are the weed facts for the day. But yeah, I figured based on this whole fucking Twitter thing, I couldn't believe it, man. You don't like, ugh. You can pretty much Google anything now and find some kind of weird radical idea that somebody's spewing off, and you're just going like, wow, how do people pay attention to this? And they had the person that is running this thing had a pretty good, like, they had a much higher follower count than I do. And it was amazing to me, because then it worried me, because I was like, oh my god, do people really believe this, or do a lot of people watch this knowing that it's like a persona before that? I don't know, but I hope that people know better. I have a little bit of faith that people know better. Who knows? Oh. So just like just like knowing that you have a obligation to, you know, correctly inform people. Sure, get people to think, see outside the box, for sure. But don't spew craziness. You know what I'm saying? Like, try and keep crazy out of the scenario. That's all I'm saying. So in relation to that, I figured what I would do is I am so high right now, man. I hope you're high. I hope you're enjoying the sesh. Dude, I gotta put this blunt out. Fuck. That Black Market blunt, man, I love it. It's one of my favorites for sure. I'd say like top 3. There's another one I have. Well, I'm going to have at some point. And I'll do a review on that, but you'll look forward to it. Trust me. It's awesome. It's possibly the best blunt I've ever had. On the other hand, these guys, for the dude, for real. No, that's the wrong button. I'm new at this and I'm hot. Yeah. Alright, dude, for real. That's like a stage laugh. Alright, well, whatever. Dude, for real. Well, this is from ReadersDigest.com, list of the dumbest criminals of all time. So I picked 3 situations. Okay, so these 2 dudes, they have machetes, right? And they're going into a bar in Sydney, Australia, demanding money. What they didn't know when they go to rob this place is that the club was hosting a bikers meeting. And one of the robbers, I guess they pushed a little too hard, a little too fast, and the one robber ended up in the hospital, and the other hogtied with electrical wire. You would think that when you open the door and you see patches, you just be like, oh, sorry, I'm out. You know? Like, that's pretty stupid, dude. Like, how do you not, You know what I'm saying? Like, if I opened a door and there were bikers, I'd know. I think I'd know. I could read the room. How do you not read the room? Just too amped up? Maybe too much, I don't know, something. So those guys got their asses handed to them. All right, this next one is police in Ossining, New York, were called to a mini mart where they found Blake Leak. He was 23. He's 23 years old, and he was trying to break in. They chased Leak through the streets until both cops cops fell over. Okay, they were chasing him, and I guess they fell over each other. I don't know. And so Jake then took the opportunity to get refuge, but he did that on the grounds of a large building. And the building ended up being Sing Sing, the maximum security prison. Yeah. So James now is in Sing Sing because he hid out in Sing Sing. So there you go. I'm just saying, it's stupid shit. I don't know. I found it funny. Maybe it's not. Well, I don't know. Number 3. So this dude was on his deathbed, he thought, because he was having a heart attack, right? And so he thought he was going to die. And then he confesses to a 17-year-old murder. That's not funny. This is funny. And then he finds out that he wasn't going to die and instead got sentenced to prison, life in prison. And that happened to James Washington of Nashville. That would suck, dude. You're like, oh, fuck, I'm dying. Oh, well, may as well tell someone. Oh, no, you tricked me. Karma, fuck. Karma always gets you, motherfucker. I'm just saying. That's crazy shit. Yeah. But, like, if you're going to do crime, don't do crime. But if you're going to do crime, wouldn't you prepare? You should prepare something. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so that's my, like, frustration for the week, I guess. My thoughts for the week. Why can't people take more responsibility for what they're putting out and the message that how they're delivering the message that they're trying to get across? Maybe take a second, take a breath, think about what you're going to say. Having said that, I mulled this over for like a half an hour before I hopped on camera. So, you know, I'm sure there's holes in what I'm saying too. But I always like to think that I look back and I adjust for the next time. And if I do something stupid, which I doubt, but if I did, I'd own up to it. Or at least get rid of the video. You know what I'm saying? Oh. Well, like I said, those are my thoughts off the stem for this week. Thank you for joining me, Justin Barone. Start off your weekend. I hope you come back next week at 4:20 on Friday. You can catch it on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube, Good Pods, wherever you get a podcast, it's out there. And don't forget to visit tots420.com. I'm working on getting some stuff up and running again. But yeah, you can check us. If you go to tots420.com, that's where you can get to all the links for all the places that you can listen to this. And then I might put up like, I don't know, some stuff. I'm working on it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the sesh. And like I said, I hope you come back next week. Until next time, keep your lids low, baby.